we are live. Welcome to Connections Unplugged from LinkedIn to Live. I'm Chryssa, and in this brand new video podcast series, which has been in my mind for a long time, I want to introduce you and get to know actually myself, my LinkedIn connections, one profile, one person at a time. I have about 5,000 connections at the moment. So with some rough calculations, if I were to introduce you to one person a day, it would take me about 13.5 years, but maybe this show has a long future ahead. So today I want to bring and introduce you. Let me bring him to the studio. Joppe Quaedvlieg. Welcome, Joppe.
Hello, hi Chryssa.
So you are from my first guest in Connections Unplugged. Do you remember when we first met? Do you have any rough recollection?
Yeah, I think we briefly spoke about it last time, but I forgot again, to be honest. Do you remember what it was?
I think you were a speaker at an event. I'm not sure if it was work relating, finding job in Finland, or what was the purpose and why I was there. But I remember that you were talking in one event. So first of all, let us introduce you to all our viewers and listeners. We are streaming live to LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. And of course, this show is powered by OneStream Live from Finland with Love, a great tool for everybody, every content creator to stream their content to various platforms. That's what we're using today. I'm very thankful for their partnership with me. So, Joppe, tell us a little bit your background, where you're from, and what brought you to Finland. And then we go and see what you're doing at the moment and what lies in the future ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Chryssa. So, a long story in a way. I came here about 10 years ago, and I came for a woman, as a lot of other Finnish, as a lot of other foreign men. Mm-hmm. I met my ex in the Netherlands. We did a little bit of dating there. Then we had long distance for 2 years, and eventually I moved here. And one of the main I moved for her, but the other reason I moved here was because I really need change. I was back then working in psychiatry, and I did not enjoy that at all anymore. So coming to Finland was a way to get away from that, because I do find that changing your life, making another career, is hard. It's not an easy thing at all. Luckily for me, my diploma in Finland valid. So I had to kind of like figure out a different way how to do things. And back then in the day, there were not that many places for immigrants to get support and help. Like now you have Nice Hearts, Care, Start Refugees, The Shortcut. There's so many things. But back then, one of the few places you could go called Lukan. They still exist, actually. Luckan.
Mm-hmm. That's a great place. It could be that we met from there. They always had amazing events, and they always cared about bringing insightful, knowledgeful events to immigrants in Finland. Not necessarily pushing the Swedish agenda or the Swedish speaking, but they had always very international approach. So Luckan is a great example. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, and it really did help. So back then, I think you can still do it. You can go there and you can like use it as an office, so to speak. So I would go there every day diligently, and I would try and send out resumes. But after 2 months of doing that, and I was applying to whatever was available. After 2 months, I realized this isn't working. How functional is it if I don't have a goal besides just finding work? Like, what do I want to do? How do I sell myself to a company if I don't really even want to be there, right? So then after 2 months, I decided, okay, no more looking for work. I need to learn how to look for work. So I made a plan that was called Joppe's Plan to Have. And in that plan, I did research and I tried to get all the things that people that knew anything about networking and how to find work that they agreed on. Because people had very different opinions opinions on what works and what does. A lot of them had certain parts that they very much agreed on. So I thought, hey, that must be the best bits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, I finished the plan, and then it was time to implement the plan. I implemented the plan, and 2 months later, I have, and it was a job that I wanted, at a company where I wanted to be, doing something that I wanted to do. It was very different because I went from working in psychiatry to actually organizing events in the startup world.
Mm-hmm.
Then the people at Lucan asked me, hey, now you are quote unquote a success, like as an immigrant, a success story.
A success
Could you come
story,
back?
right?
Yeah. Could you come back and give a little motivational speech to
Or a
the next
workshop.
generation of immigrants? Yeah, yeah. But I only had like a half an hour for that or something. And I said, of course, because the people at Lucan had been so kind to me and spent so much time, and
You
I
wanted to
was able
give
to use
back
that
to
space.
them and show your appreciation and
Yeah,
perhaps
absolutely,
help
absolutely.
others as well.
Yeah, and I mean, think about it. Obviously, integrating into a new country is one thing, and without a job, that's really, really hard. So the fact that they provided this platform for me to do that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I went there and I thought, what is anybody going to do with motivation?
Mm-hmm.
People don't need motivation. I think they need practical solutions, because you're going to feel motivated for 10 minutes, for an hour, for a day, and then you're back at the job search. And anybody who has tried to get a job in another country knows how incredibly hard it can be.
Mm-hmm.
So I took some chunks of that Joppe's plan to happiness, and I turned it into a little workshop. And then they really liked it, and they asked me to come back. And I got asked again to come back. And I started to create these little workshops on networking, how to present yourself, how to write a CV, all these kind of things. And I've always been really interested in psychology. I've always been really interested in communication. So that was very handy. I learned a lot also from that. In the meantime, at the company where I was working, I also became the chief of happiness title. So it
What was
became
it?
my job to make sure.
Happiness.
Chief of happiness.
Let me ask you here, because Finland has been for 6 years in a row labeled the happiest country in the world, and now we're waiting for the World Happiness Report in spring to come again, and let's see if Finland still tops the list. But related to that, in your life and career here in Finland, you have been, you created the Joppe's Plan to Happiness, you've been chief of happiness. Are you happy in Finland, or have there been periods from your life in Finland? Let's be realistic here, because I believe also myself, we have some similarities in our stories, our foreigners here, who try to make a living and earn a living in Finland. And, I believe that, of course, there is the honeymoon phase in the beginning, or it could be a reverse pyramid even. And at some point, perhaps you reach a plateau, you feel that there's a glass ceiling, you feel that, sure, I've done some things, but it's not where I'm heading forward. And that will tie us to what I want to ask you before, what you do now, where you are. But tell us a little bit about the not so happy, not so success stories. Have you reached a plateau in your life, and have you been so unhappy? And what was that the driver of your next step?
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a really interesting question for me, because to me, everything kind of came from what I didn't want to do, where I didn't want to be, and where I wasn't. So I came to Finland because I wasn't happy in the Netherlands. I wasn't happy with my job, and coming to Finland created this opportunity for me to, it forced me to find a new career, right?
Or to start fresh,
And
right? From a clean slate.
yes, which on one hand is very pleasant, on the other hand really difficult, because you have no experience, right?
A new
for instance, when I
country,
started
language, you have to, fight with a local fox to, to work,
Yeah.
prove that you're 10 times better to be considered half good. And
Yeah.
there are challenges for sure.
I mean, I also really do believe that, so I chose to come here, and, if you try and find a career life where you grow up, it's more, how would I say it? It's more implemented already. You're the steps are maybe more logical or more obvious. In this case, it's kind of all new. And I understood, luckily, very early on that it's going to be me that has to do everything. And I might have to work harder than other people. I have to maybe take more risks, because if you don't, well, then everything stays the same. I mean, it sounds simple, but I do really think that's true. Luckily, because of my early experience of getting that job after a couple of months and starting to do things I wanted to do the way I wanted to do it, that really the seed in my journey in Finland of try and do what I desire to do from my heart, what feels good to me, and then pursue that systematically over a longer period of time. Now, you asked if I've had like difficult or dark periods. I definitely have been unemployed a couple times, which I did. I feel like not having a purpose is terrible. Of course, that's also a financial challenge. It can be. My ex and I broke up. There have been periods where I did not constantly enjoy myself. But what was really important to me is that, and people's opinions on this differ very much, but my experience is that Finland is clean. Finland is safe, way safer than any other country I've ever been in. Corruption is borderline non-existent. People are nice, although also some people don't per se agree with me on that. I found it easy to friends myself, but that's part of the story. I can tell a bit later on why that was easy for me. And I noticed that if in Finland, in Helsinki specifically, if you network, if you learn how to do that, then opportunities can come from that. But if you network and you don't know why you're networking, if you don't know your purpose, your meaning, your goal, then it stays difficult, obviously. So this is actually a bridge to continue the story, because while I was having this job as the Chief of Happiness, I kept being asked to do these workshops. At some point I was doing it. I did it in collaboration with the city of Helsinki. I've done it at like a lot of NGOs. Still wanted to give something back. And I have a big heart for helping each other. I think it's really, really, really crucial that we actively and practically support each other so we can get somewhere. And not only say you can do it. I don't think that's fair. And also to call out people on their own responsibility. Because a lot of people might say to me, yeah, but it's hard. Yeah, that's true. It is hard, but what are you going to do, right? Okay. So then one day what happened? Yeah, please.
Yes, I want to come to your LinkedIn profile and some things that you write there in your bio, in your intro. So first of all, your headline is Leadership Consultant, a creator of Disruptive Communication and Communication Specialist. And then when you scroll down, you see in your intro that disengaged employees cost your company 35% of their yearly salary. And then you have a company, if I understood right. Is it so?
Yes.
So is it Articula, the name of it?
Yes.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit, what do you do? Because you touched upon now saying that you want to help others and you want to share and so on. Of course, there's many things that you do pro bono and sharing your knowledge in events and workshops and so on, but you do have a company also. So tell us a little bit about your role, the company, and what solutions you are offering, and how could employers or employees also benefit from what you're passionate about, what you've identified that perhaps there is a bottleneck there. So tell us a little bit about that. I'm curious to know, and I think for all the listeners and viewers that would be interesting.
Yeah, okay. So what's interesting to me is that my company is a direct result of my journey here, because in order to do the workshops I used to do, I had to ask people constantly, what is it that you want? So somebody said, I want to network, I want a job, I want to make friends. Okay, so what do you want? What do you want from that exactly? Because we have a tendency to speak in generalizations, right? So let's say that somebody says, I would like a job. okay, how does that look like? And they say, well, I want to work in HR. Well, what does that describe it to me? What kind of company? What kind of people? What kind of culture? Describe it to me. And then eventually I figured out a pathway in questions that I can help people with to formulate a proper want, a proper need, very clear one, by helping them to describe it in reality, make it practical.
To
and I adopt this
articulate
tool,
it.
articulating it exactly. I adopt this tool, descriptive communication. So, for instance, I'll give an example because it makes it more clear. So let's say that I tell you, I want to be happy. Do you now have any idea what that means?
It's
No,
so
right?
broad that it could mean different thing to different people. And this is actually to my previous question. This has been my criticism for the World Happiness Report. Of course, they don't
Right.
ask. It's a very subjective. Some things are very objective, like what is the GDP of the country and so on. But all the other metrics are very subjective. So in your case, you have developed a tool, and you clearly, so the people who participate then are very able then to go through the process and articulate their own wants and needs in a
Yes.
clear way. But what happens afterwards?
Yes. Okay. So what this has to do with companies is the following. When you look at a company, let's say you have a company of 100 people. There are people in that company and they're not fully engaged. Maybe they're a lot on social media while they're working. Maybe they're not present because they're thinking about what troubles they have at home. And that goes from people like that to people that are actively sabotaging the work situation. So sometimes people, for instance, they don't want to be there, they're not engaged, and they start gossiping and actually creating a worse atmosphere. Or maybe they're not handing you the files that you need in order to do your job, and so on and so on. Descriptive communication that I have developed is a tool to locate people in your company that are in some way or form disengaged. And just to give you some numbers, as you mentioned already yourself, so 87% of employees in a company are in some way or form disengaged, from light to really bad. That costs you per disengaged employee 35% of their yearly salary. And that's an insane amount of money. And we're not even talking in that case about decreased quality of work, turnover, people calling in ill, and those kind of factors.
And now that you said that, Finland is actually, I just saw yesterday, number 2 in Eurostat, according to Eurostat at the European level, number 2 position of people calling in sick. The most leaves of absence due to sickness, position number 2, Finland. So that tells us something. So, and then you sort of hint it could be from a toxic workplace and a disengaged. So it becomes like fire in a forest that you can't stop it anymore. And it spills over, I think, to other engaged employees and motivated who want to do a good job. But within that environment, if you have a colleague or two, or it's just a very dysfunctional way. And I think, yes, it not only creates psychological pressure to all the employees and leaves of absence and so on, and mental, physical well-being, but of course, it has a euro sign attached to it as well. So, great. Continue, please, with the process as you were describing.
So what's really important to understand is that I am not HR. I am not C-suite. I'm not judge anybody. I'm there to ask the employees, and that includes C-suite, that includes management, team managers, HR, and whoever. I'm there to sit down with each single one of them and ask the question, hey, you're here at this company. You have this function. What would you want to do? And the beauty is that since I have no benefit whether they want to be there or not, I have no judgment. So through the techniques that I use, I help people to formulate it. And you'd be surprised how many people that are disengaged would like to be engaged, but they're not engaged, maybe because, and I'll give you a few examples. Maybe they don't have the right tools. Maybe they're forced to use a specific app, and they're like, no, but this app is better. This would work for me. Maybe they don't have the right budget. Maybe they would need or want to collaborate, cross-pollinate with another department. Maybe they need a simple yes or no in order to do their job. Maybe there's somebody who needs a lot of praise in order to move forward because they feel insecure.
And
maybe they need a lot of autonomy.
So how then in a wider, I would understand that in smaller teams, perhaps this could work, but how about if we listen to every single employee, their needs and wants, how could this be scaled in larger teams, larger organizations? Is it part of then, does it integrate, as you said, with the HR policies, or do you come as an external consultant and dedicate certain of your resources? How does this play out in practical terms, also in small teams, but also in larger organizations?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So what's important to understand is that the change, the helping of re-engaging everybody starts with showing people that what you want and need is okay to say out loud, right? So we help you, and they help you to make a practice list of what that entails for you. So let's say that there is a disengaged employee and they have a problem. They're disengaged because their child has an illness and they need to be an hour late every day. But their boss currently, or the company, doesn't have that philosophy that that's okay. I would then take that to management, to C-suite, and we discuss, is this a possibility? Because we either make this a possibility or this person stays disengaged. It is really that simple. Now, it can also mean that management says, hey, we really cannot do this. This is not how we work. This is not in a culture. Then I go back to the employee and we say, hey, listen, this is not going to happen. If is this for you so important, then can we help you move to another company? And this is really important. It has to be supportive. This is not what I do. It's not a system to help people get kicked out. Then we say, hey, listen, we're going to find you, and I can actually help with that. We're going to find you a company, you can do this, and you can re-engage and have a happy life. But in the best situation, C-suite and their management can give this opportunity, and now everybody's happy. And here's the thing. A lot of management doesn't understand well enough that even though helping people have these opportunities creates work, extra work, eventually you have less work because people are happy. And when people are happy, they show up on time. When people are happy, they're not ill as much. When they're happy, they create a good culture. When they're happy, they're more creative. So you need to give that a while, 6 months to a year, and then you'll start to see the change. Now, of course, this is a big overhaul, right? If you do this in a 100-person company and you try and compromise with everybody to kind of give them what they want. And by the way, don't get me wrong, the same thing goes to management. I asked management in C-suite also, what do you want? And that can happen. What that does is it also reminds people, why did I come here in the first place? What is this company about? Our values that we have on the website, are they true and real? Eventually, it makes everybody feel more authentic. And we should never forget that work is an expression of who we are. Work
Can I ask you, Joppe, what is an expression of who you are as a person? I see a painting there behind. Are you a painter, or what
Yes.
on a person are you?
So actually, I do paint a little. It was, let me think, 8 years ago that I got into touch with the local Burning Man community here in Helsinki. And they were all doing all kinds of creative stuff. And I saw so many do creative stuff that I thought, maybe I can do it too. So I actually started to, I'm putting in the right direction, started to paint myself. And a year ago, I also decided to write a book. And it's coming out hopefully end of January. I'm very, very excited about it. I hope that I can hit the deadline.
Great. What would be the book about?
The book offers an alternative way of looking at certain things. So, for instance, I take a look at what we think of perfectionism, and I offer a different way of looking at it that's maybe a bit more helpful to move people forward in their lives.
I'm a perfectionist. Can you help me? This could be, as you said, a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, so the idea is that, well, how would you say that perfectionism is good for you or not good for you?
I'm happy being this way, let's say, but perhaps the people around me don't appreciate it so much at some point.
Right. So there's good things and bad things to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So the way that I described it in the book, and you would have to read the whole chapter to get to the point, but what I suggest is that instead of striving to perfectionism, we strive for beauty. Because perfectionism can lead to this idea that, hey, it might never be good enough. You push. However, since beauty is in the eye of the beholder, maybe trying to achieve beauty is very similar, but just different enough to take a little bit of the edge off.
But is it in my eyes how perfect the work I'm creating is, or should I ask perhaps others to say, is it beautiful in their eyes? Because as you said, it's in the eye of the beholder. So what would be the approach if we were to read?
Both, right?
Mm-hmm.
So both, you want both, of course.
Joppe, last time in Connections Unplugged, I had Michael Johansson from Sweden, and I asked him one question about what legacy he would like to leave behind. And then towards the end of the show, I asked him to ask you a question, and he said, I like your question. I want to ask the same to your next guest. So one thing now, I want to create this red link and red thread between my guests. So first of all, I'd like to ask you Michael's question, what legacy you want to leave behind, let's say many, many years after you're gone in this earth, in this on this planet. What would you like people to remember from your connections, from your family, from your friends, from people who haven't met you? You said you have a book and so on. What is the one thing you want to be remembered as? And then I want to ask you to ask my next guest a question. So let's hear first from you about your own legacy. How do you envision it?
Right. That's a really beautiful question. When I was younger, I thought I wanted to create a change in the world that would happen now and be permanent in some way or form. And now I've realized that now that I'm older, that life continues also. I'm gone. And I realized that I would like to help humanity to move into the next phase of whatever it's going to be. And I believe it's possible to have a world where things are better, even better than they are now. Pardon me. The way that I want to do that is I would like to create a better world through improved communication. To me, communication is like casting spells. If I do it properly, I can create change in the world and create change in a positive way. So my company, Articula, my book, Reaching Escape Velocity, and also the volunteer event I do called Help Me Help You, they all revolve around creating positive change, where we understand that you and I can actively help each other, support each other, not wanting anything in return, creating kind of let's call it tribe 2.0, a little village of ourselves, so we can help elevate each other, and that we can all be happy and prosper and have purpose and meaning.
Perfect. So how can people reach out to you and participate and get engaged and get to know you better? Tell us a little bit, are you willing to connect with people on LinkedIn? How can reach you, get to know you, participate in the Help Me Help You initiative and so on?
Yeah, so almost I post a lot on LinkedIn. I post 3 times a week on LinkedIn. The LinkedIn is definitely the best place. You can also, if anybody has any questions, you can DM me on that. If you want to learn more about my company, you can go to the articula.com, so artiqula.com. And also, if you meet me on the street, come and say hi. I'm always happy to have coffees with people and meet new people.
All right. So next time we go for coffee, Joppe, we meet in person again.
Yes.
We had, I think, a coffee, but then I was, or my son was sick or something. We had to reschedule. So that we have to do. I would like to thank you so much for being today in Connections Unplugged.
I didn't ask my question yet.
Yeah, I was about to come to that. Yes. So now is your chance to ask my next guest a question. What would you like? We don't know who he or she is, but the next human being, my own connection, what is a question, perhaps something that's passionate about, you would like to ask to anybody?
It's a very interesting question, very difficult also, but something popped in my head. The question would be, if you could cast a spell to make a better world, what spell would you cast?
Very good. So for the viewers watching, perhaps answer Joppe's questions in the comments below, whether you're watching us from LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. I will check the comments later on, and we will, and Joppe, please also reply to the people if anybody wants to share their own opinions. And my next guest will take the opportunity to tackle my questions and then Joppe's question next time. We go live every Wednesday at 11 o'clock Finnish time. I'm based here in Finland. I would like to thank Joppe once more for joining me today. Thank you, Joppe.
Thank you.
And I would like to remind you that this show is powered by OneStream Live. It's powered by a Finnish company, a cloud-based live streaming solution that enables you and all content creators out there to create, schedule, and multi-stream content. It could be pre-recorded or it can be real-time videos on 45 plus different social media platforms. I don't have so many. So this is live Connections Unplugged to LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. That's about it for me. I do have Instagram as well, but I didn't want to stream on Instagram. So follow me as well, Chryssa Quaedvlieg, follow Joppe, and tune in next Wednesday, 11 o'clock Finnish time EET. And I leave you with a little ad and message from OneStream Live. Bye. See you next Wednesday.